Hello, everyone. It's Brian. This time with no co host. I'm sorry about that. I know some of you will be disappointed. But today I'm going to do finally the Vinyl Tag 2023, started by Rob Walker. Rob Walker Let the Music Play. It reminded me, of course, that my first video for the vinyl community last year was actually Vinyl Tags for 2022. What occurred to me, though, is I'm wondering if Rob is watching all these, because there are so many now. I was watching as many as I could, and I became kind of exhausted because there's just so many. But good luck if you're watching them all. So, of the 20 questions, question number 1 is favorite new release of 2022. And of course, two videos ago, I made a list of my top 10 from 2022, and this was number 1, Spoon, Lucifer on the Sofa, which was also chosen as number 1 by PC31, the Vinyl Policeman. So I feel confident that my choice was a good one. I think Hubtunes had this in his top 3 or 4. A great band from Austin, Texas. Can't go wrong with Spoon. Question number 2, last band or solo artist you saw live. Again, I really had a difficult time answering this question because I'm not sure I remember. Of course, during the pandemic, many people didn't see concerts, but even in the years prior to that, with children around and finding time, I don't think I saw that many concerts. So I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm wrong, that I'm forgetting something. But just to get this question out of the way, I chose Kim Mitchell. This is I Am a Wild Party. It's a live record from 1990. Of course, Kim Mitchell was the founding member of a band called Max Webster, who was this really unusual hard rock band from Canada, sometimes compared with Frank Zappa. I'm not sure if that's actually the best description, but in later years he was a host on an afternoon show on the radio for maybe 10 or 11 years. Famously, the band Rush really liked Max Webster, and I think Max Webster opened for them maybe 200 times. So, an interesting Canadian band. I'm not sure if that was the last concert, but that's what I'm going with. Number 3, their first album was the best. Again, so many choices could be made for this, but I decided to pick Violent Femmes, their first record from 1983, which has a number of classics on here: Blister in the Sun, Kiss Off, Add It Up, Gone Daddy Gone. Just an incredible record. I actually saw this band live too, but many years ago. And clearly this is better than anything else they put out after. This is a original Canadian pressing. Hat Trick, show the vinyl, CD, and cassette of an album. Now, I did give away my cassettes years ago. I don't know why, but I did. I probably shouldn't have, because there was some good stuff in there, like Joy Division, The Smiths, that kind of thing. But yeah, I gave it away, which is probably not the best thing to have done. So, however, despite that, there's still a few records where I can show all 3. So I'm going to start with the cassette for Leonard Cohen, Still Sealed, Various Positions from 1984. This, of course, is the album that has the original version of Hallelujah, which is different. If you don't know this, you should look it up, because the lyrics are different in many cases. Some are the same, some are different from what he sang in concert. So there you go, Leonard Cohen. And here's the CD version with the glare. Funnily enough, Hallelujah wasn't even my favorite song on this record when it came out. It's funny that became the one that was very popular. And the vinyl versions of Various Positions. Leonard Cohen. Let's see. Album that starts and ends with the same letter. And I saw a number of these. In many cases, people chose letters or things that had S at the beginning and end. That makes a lot of sense. But I thought about this one for a while and came up with this record, which is a very boring record cover, maybe. This is David J. from Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, and this is called Etiquette of Violence. So it starts with E and ends with E. This is from 1983. Kind of an interesting record. Etiquette of Violence. Let's see. Number 6, Born in the Same Year as You. And for that, I'm going to choose David Gilmour, born in 1946. I'm just kidding. I was not born in 1946, but David Gilmour was. Most listened to album in 2022. And again, this is a question I really struggled with, because I'm not sure that I really know the answer to that question, because, I play records, I play CDs. I stream some things. I listen to things on YouTube. So I'm not sure if this is right, but I chose a record that I remember playing a lot when I got it for a while because I really liked it. And that is Lloyd Cole, Antidepressant. Of course, Lloyd Cole from Lloyd Cole and the Commotions, a band I absolutely love. But then I lost track of Lloyd Cole. His first solo record didn't really do a lot for me, and I kind of just ignored him for years. But I saw this for a really good price. It came out in 2006, but this was the repressing from 2021, and I picked it up because it was an incredible price. Comes with a bonus 7-inch single, and I think this is really good. Very mellow. The Young Idealist, the first two tracks especially, Young Idealist and Woman in a Bar, just fantastic. And I love the whole record. Surprisingly, I liked it. I didn't know that I would, but I think it's really great. Number 8, most listened to artist in 2022. And again, I don't know because, as I say, sometimes on longer trips I put my iPod in the car and connect it to the stereo system. I listen, as I say, records, CDs, streaming, things on YouTube. So I'm not sure. For any year in the last 30 years, it probably would be Leonard Cohen. But because I mentioned Leonard Cohen, I'm not going to choose Leonard Cohen. But this is probably Bob Dylan or Leonard Cohen. But I'll choose Bob Dylan. It happens to be Love and Theft, which I think is a great record. But I don't know. It's probably one of those two. It's as close as I can come. Australian artist or band. Let's see what we have here. I decided to pick Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, Tender Prey from 1988. This is a repressing, a later repressing. This, of course, is the record that has the Mercy Seat. And, I think I like the Johnny Cash version better of that song. But this is a pretty good record. And he's from Australia. All right. Surprising purchase of 2022. So, when I think of records that came out in the 90s or the 2000s, I, for a long time, just assumed there was no vinyl version of it. But I was in a shop last year and I was looking through the bin and I saw a record that I had no idea was even on vinyl because it came out in 2001. And this is the Warren Zevon My Rides Here. So it was repressed later. Didn't know it was repressed, and I found it sitting in a bin for like an impossibly cheap price. I think it was under $20. I think it was $15. Maybe not his best record, but I was stunned to see it because I had no idea that there was a vinyl copy of it. So of course I bought it and added it to my Warren Zevon collection, which if you watch my last video, is not appreciated by everyone. But what can I do about that? Surprising purchase. That was that one. An artist or band you're complete on, and this one, again, I could have chosen a lot. Like Bauhaus, Smiths, Joy Division, Lou Reed, Velvet Underground, Springsteen, Clash, Echo and the Bunnymen. But I decided to pick something a little more contemporary, and that is a guy called Craig Finn, who is the singer for a band called The Hold Steady, which I've mentioned before. This is his first record, Clear Heart, Full Eyes. Then we have Faith in the Future. We All Want the Same Things. I Need a New War. All Those Perfect Crosses, which is a collection of B-sides and alternative mixes, a double record. I think it was Record Store Day. Yes, it was. And the last one from 2022 was A Legacy of Rentals, which in some respects should have been on my 2022 best of, but this pressing is terrible. It has, I don't know, maybe some slight sibilance or distortion, and I thought there was something wrong with my record player, but I looked on Discogs and other people said the same thing. So a great run of 3 albums, and of course the first 3 Leonard Cohen records as a perfect example of that. But I chose a different artist. I chose John Cale for the records Fear, Slow Dazzle, and Helen of Troy, which I originally got because they're on this collection called the Island Years. So those are his Island records, those 3 records. This is a double CD, which I took in my car everywhere when this came out. It has a couple bonus tracks. But let me show you the actual records. So this is Fear from 1974. Now the interesting thing about these 3 records is, and as I might have said that Paris 1999, Paris 1919 came out a year before, and it's also fantastic, but I'm choosing the three that are the Island Year records. 1974, and the next two came out in 1975, so it was a span of just over a year that these three records came out, and I would choose them as possibly John Cale's three best records, and it's weird that they came out so close to one another. This has Phil Manzanera on this record. Brian Eno's on this record. It has Fear is a Man's Best Friend, Buffalo Ballet, Barracuda. I mean, there's so many good songs. Gun, The Man Who Couldn't Afford to Orgy, as they say in the UK, although I would say orgy. 1974, followed by Slow Dazzle, 1975. And, we have Chris Spedding, Phil Manzanera, other people, Brian Eno again. And this has, again, amazing tracks on here. Mr. Wilson, Darling, I Need You, Ski Patrol. And interestingly, a fantastic version of Heartbreak Hotel, which is obviously made famous by Elvis, but he does a really interesting version of that. And Helen of Troy, which came out in 1975 as well. And John Cale was upset with his record company because he didn't think it was ready to be released, but the record company released it anyway without his permission or without his go-ahead. So we have Chris Spedding again, Phil Collins on drums. No matter what you say about Phil Collins, he was an excellent drummer. Brian Eno again, the back, and the gatefold. And this has, amazing songs again. Helen of Troy, Pablo Picasso, which Bowie covered, but this is a much better version of the Jonathan Richman song. Keep a Close Watch, which he wanted Frank Sinatra to sing. Cable Hogue. This is great. So those three records I think are critical. If you don't want just get this. If you don't want to buy those records, this is amazing. Constant companion in the car every time I went somewhere. 80s soundtrack, number 13. And I chose a soundtrack for a movie I've never seen called Salvation, which is a black comedy about televangelism from 1988. And so many of the songs have a reference to religion of some kind. So Touched by the Hand of God by New Order, Let's Go by New Order, Arthur Baker's on here, Cabaret Voltaire, there's 2 tracks on here. So really interesting. I should see the movie, I suppose, but I think this is the first place. Touched by the Hand of God, I think, appeared here first, I think. We lost them in 2022, and I've seen a lot of people talk about people like Terry Hall, etc., which is true, but I decided to choose someone I hadn't seen yet, and that is Jet Black, the drummer from The Stranglers, who died in 2022. Now, he, of course, retired from the band in 2018, and he died at age 84. This is a collection that came out originally in 2002, but this is the 2020 reissue, which covers, this is the first time on vinyl, so it goes right back to the Peaches, Golden Brown, Walk On By, right up to 96 Tears, La Folie, things like that. One of my favorite bands, and this is a really solid collection of the Stranglers, and sadly we lost Jet Black. Disappointing purchase of 2022. All right, so sorry about that noise. I was in a record store, and I found this record in a bin, marked down to almost nothing, like $5 or $6. Double record, a band I'd never heard of before. But as I was standing there, I decided to look them up, and they seem to get really good reviews. However, when I bought it and played it, I wasn't really that impressed. The band is called No. The album's called El Prado. They're from Los Angeles. This came out in 2014. As I say, it got good reviews, and one of the things that encouraged me to buy it was that they were compared to the National. And when I listened to it, I thought, well, it seems like they were stealing the National sound. I'm not sure. I didn't love it. Like, I listened to it a couple times, and I was quite bored. I'm interested to know if you know this band, if you think it's worth keeping. It may be their only record, but didn't really do anything for me. And the other thing that convinced me is that in Canada, it was released on Arts and Crafts, which is a really good record label. I like pretty much everything they've released, so that was disappointing. But on the other hand, it only cost me like $5 or $6. It wasn't that expensive. Okay, non-vinyl purchase. As for that, I will talk about a band called the Northern Pikes from Saskatoon, a really interesting Canadian band. I have their first 2 records on vinyl. This is the 3rd record from 1990. pretty much impossible to find on vinyl. I've tried, and even a few years ago, you could see it on Discogs, but there's no prices because no one had ever sold a copy. I think some have sold now, and the prices are what I thought, a little too high. But I am looking for this on vinyl. I probably will have to wait for a reissue. It has She Ain't Pretty, which is a really popular song for them. I didn't love that song. There's, I think, better tracks on here, but I would love to have Snow in June on vinyl, but it seems like it's not going to happen. Let's see. Oh, and I bought this at a thrift shop. It cost me $1, so didn't spend a lot of money. Non-vinyl purchase. The next thing is you found a Grail. Right, so I was in a record store looking in bins apart from where I usually look. They had a folk section that I sort of forgot about, and I was looking through there. And this looks like it had been sitting there for 10 years, because this came out in 2013, and I bet it's been there the whole time. Maybe not. Billy Bragg and Wilco, Mermaid Avenue, Volume 3. Now, all the three Mermaid Avenue records are really hard to find, and this one surprised me when it was sitting there because it wasn't that expensive, and I was just stunned to see it there because I just didn't expect it. And it's something I'd been looking for a long time. Of course, this is the third collaboration between Wilco and Billy Bragg on the Woody Guthrie tracks. So, yeah, really happy to have it. I was surprised to see it there. It's definitely something I'd been looking for a long time. And there it was. Let's see. Space-themed album or song. I thought of two immediately, but I went with the second one I thought of, and that is, you might not guess from this cover, this is Spiritualized, and it's called And Nothing Hurt, but this is the box, the special edition box, which is just orange on the outside. But if I open it up, first we will see the front cover, which is a man dressed as an astronaut. J Spaceman. So his name even has a space theme. And it comes with this really interesting book, which I guess is only in the box version. I mean, none of the songs really have that theme, but it's the photography that's in here. So spacesuit kind of thing. Might as well show you them all. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, the hotel theme. Ooh. By the pool. Oh, I didn't realize there were so many photos in here. Anyway, I don't think these are in the regular. Anyway, that's it. J Spaceman, Spiritualized. Sorry, I had a little glitch there. 19 shows some VCLT or a present. Now, I had VCLT this year from TCAT Deep Vinyl Tracks, Jason Skills, which I just showed recently, PC31 The Vinyl Policeman, which I just showed recently, and Michael P. Dawson, who, in addition to the Frank Zappa record he sent me, when I purchased his Hurtle Turtled Out of Heaven record, he bundled it with a separate record, which I mentioned before, but I thought I mentioned this one because it was a surprise. You know, the other ones were also great, but I knew they were coming, and this one was just a surprise. I didn't realize you'd throw a bonus one in. So this came up in a recent finds video a little while back. So again, something I've listened to a couple times because I think it's kind of interesting. So a surprise VCLT, which is cool. And the last question is, show an album released in 1973, and here's a record from 1973. It's Closing Time from Tom Waits, young Tom Waits. So yeah, good record from 1973, 50 years old, which is kind of alarming, but in any case. So that's my effort at the Vinyl Tag 2023. Thanks, Rob, for the questions. They're all very interesting questions. I'd be interested to hear your comments on these items, and if you've made a video and I haven't seen it, I would like to know about it, because I kind of became overwhelmed with how many there were. So just let me know if you've made one. I'll check it out. And thanks once again for watching.